shoes and walk among the groups of two. It's not ideal, it's just how we feel. It's a shame we're easily amused. The only cure for this forward motion is to make emotion fly away. The air is cold, but the water's not frozen. I see ripples rolling every day. Cast a stone and hit a hardcore view. Catchphrase of the day is that it's true. There's no coffee talk and only one way to please. It's a shame what you do moves me. The only cure for this forward motion is to make emotion fly away. The air is cold, but the water's not frozen. I see ripples rolling every day. Yeah, I'm not looking for a windswept view. Our change has changed. Nothing's new. Right heart, new song. That knows. The only cure for this forward motion is to make emotion fly away. The air is cold, but the water's not frozen. I see ripples rolling every day. If I could know what would do wrong, I'd take this smile. The only cure for this forward motion is this The only cure for this forward motion is this The only cure for this forward motion.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Rebellious 1776. My name is Lynn Hurley. I am here with my handsome husband, Mr. David Hurley, and we are here with you to critique, criticize, and fact-check our nation's politicians. We love watching a feisty congressional hearing, but that is not what we are here to do today. No. We are here to talk about some of these congressional hearings and the craziness that is going on in our world right now. And if you know someone you think might enjoy this, please feel free to share the love and share the show with them. Then sit back, grab yourself a snack and a drink. And if you're watching live, join us in the chat. Also, if you like all things politics, why not hit that subscribe button? It's not going to hurt you. It won't bite. It would please the YouTube gods. And I personally would love it if you would join our family here. We're getting closer and closer to that 1,000 subscribers. I can feel it. I can taste it. It's going to happen soon. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you always get notified whenever a new show is coming up. All right, everyone, let's get this conversation going. I apologize. I know I'm like, the light is weird on me. It's coming through a window and there's not much I can do about it, but it will go away soon.
Well, considering my pastiness, you look great.
Well, thanks. That's a good compliment, I think. Oh, hey, everybody. Hey, XJ. Dave does, in fact, have his pants on. Thank you for your concern.
And hoodie.
Yep, and hoodie. Hey, Chris. Mine forked. We just had fun watching a movie over there. And Bradley, lazy Sunday afternoon. And you spice it up for me, Lynn. You're welcome. You're welcome. Hot damn is right.
I'm here for you, Brad.
Hey, Tim, how are you? We have Poner Houston in the house. So nice to see you as well. Hatch 61. Hey, nice to see you. Thanks, guys, for joining us. It's going to be a fun time. Snoopy, yay! How's it going, bud? Our fellow Ohioan, is that what we're called? Ohioans?
Sure.
Why
Sounds
not?
good.
Why not? Yeah. We love to hear his voice and see his face. Absolutely. Absolutely. Considering my pastiness, yes.
I agree with Brad, though. I'm better heard, not seen.
No, that is not true. Not true at all. All right. So today we are going to talk about, what did I call it? Biden's border blunder. Though I came up with that because I thought it sounded funny, but I really don't think it's a blunder, but we will get into that in just a little bit. Yes, we're glad you could catch it live too. All right. So let's start off with a little news clip from the one and only Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and hear his thoughts on the upcoming impeachment of, the full House vote of the upcoming impeachment for Alejandro Mayorkas. That is his name. So let me get this pulled up for you guys, and we'll watch that, and then we will get to talking about it. Let's see.
Your move to impeach Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. You accuse him of, quote, willful and systemic refusal to comply with the law, a breach of public trust. Mayorkas has said these claims are baseless and politically motivated. What's interesting here is that some prominent conservative legal experts who oppose Donald Trump's impeachment also oppose the impeachment of Secretary Mayorkas. This is what Jonathan Turley had to say, Mr. Speaker. He says there is no current evidence that he is corrupt or committed an impeachable offense. He can be legitimately accused of effectuating an open border policy, but that is a disagreement on policy. What has not been shown is conduct by the secretary that could be viewed as criminal or impeachable. Are you impeaching Secretary Mayorkas over a policy disagreement?
Jonathan Turley is a friend and a former colleague. I was a constitutional law attorney, a practitioner, litigator myself. And I also worked on the impeachment defense team for President Trump twice. Yeah. So I'm very familiar with the law. What we're suggesting here is that Secretary Mayorkas has openly defied federal law, openly, repeatedly engaged in a practice of defying the law that Congress and has put on the books and previous presidents have signed. He has also lied to Congress. He has misrepresented facts over and over. And by that, and because of that, he's obstructed congressional oversight. All of these are constitutional responsibilities that we are unable to fulfill because this cabinet secretary has decided to defy federal law. Extreme times, desperate times call for desperate measures, and that's where we are.
Mr. Speaker, just a couple of points there. Of course, Secretary Mayorkas and you had a dispute over what it means for the border to be secured. So the notion that he lied has not stood up under independent fact checkers when you look at the fact that this was a dispute. Secondly, he says he's following the law. He says that's why new legislation needs to be passed. Mr. Speaker, how does impeaching Mayorkas do anything to address the immediate crisis at the border, which you have?
She just said his lie does not hold up, that the border was not secure. That's what she just said, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. This woman's crazy. All right, let's just keep going and see what he says back to her. I hope he says those very words.
Called a catastrophe, which you said deserves immediate attention.
Kristen, for that matter, how does passing a new law by Congress do anything to solve the catastrophe that they have intentionally designed and created? If we pass a new law, he won't follow that law either.
It gives the
problem
president
is you have an
expanded
abject
authorities on
failure of leadership.
asylum. It does a
But
range
the president
of different
is not
things
using
to
the
give
authorities
DHS
he has
officials
right now.
authorities. All right.
No,
Let me-
Kristen, the
go ahead,
president
finish
and
your
Mayorkas are not using the authorities they have right now. Yes.
All right. Let me just play. This is, you were, as you just said, a part of President Trump's defense team at his first impeachment. Here's what you had to say about impeachment back then.
The founders of this country warned against single-party impeachments. The founders of this country warned us against a single-party impeachment. The founders of this country warned against a single-party impeachment. You know why? You guys know why. Because they feared it would bitterly and perhaps irreparably divide our nation.
What changed, Mr. Speaker?
Nothing's changed. I would repeat the same refrain over and over because facts are stubborn things and they do not change. The Constitution does not change. Impeachment power is probably the heaviest power that the House of Representatives is given in the Constitution. Next to the declaration of war, you can argue it's the most serious power we have. And it's not to be used for partisan political purposes. That is exactly what they did for Donald Trump.
How is this
they telegraphed
different,
they were going to
Mr.
impeach
Speaker?
Donald
How is
Trump
this
before he even
moment
took his
different?
oath of office.
If that's the case, then how is
it's
this
very
moment
different.
different now?
Kristen, in many ways. Let me explain the many ways. For one, the House has methodically, slowly, deliberately gone through the impeachment process, impeachment inquiry, impeachment investigation on Mayorkas and President Biden himself. We've involved 3 different committees of jurisdiction: judiciary, oversight, ways and means. We have followed the facts where they have led, not for political purposes, not because we take pleasure in this. It's, again, a heavy thing to look at the impeachment of a president or a cabinet secretary, but these facts require it. The House of Representatives has the constitutional responsibility of impeachment, and that begins with the investigation, and it must be very carefully, methodically done in a nonpartisan manner. That's exactly what the House Republican majority has done here, and it is exactly the opposite of what the House Democrats did in the previous administration. That is a fact, and we can follow those facts and understand them for what they are.
All right. And of course, Secretary Mayorkas has said that the allegations against him are baseless.
Okay, hold on. Let me take this down, guys. Okay. Well, good for Mike for standing up for himself in that situation. So this is the problem. This is the problem that I'm seeing with most Democrats. And you can tell she's clearly a Democrat, not unbiased as a journalist should be. But having said that, this is the problem that I have. They are saying he hasn't committed a crime. He hasn't done anything wrong. There's nothing impeachable here, David Hurley. What do you think about that?
Well, look, everything's playing out, I think, exactly like it should, because when it says in the Constitution, in the articles, Congress shall have the power. Mm-hmm. Shall is a really important word there. They also used it, in the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed.
Right.
So that's a directive. It's not, we're going to give you all this power and you can do with it what you want.
Right.
It's not, we're going to give you all this power and you can ignore your constitutional duties. The government's not doing its job here. You can't mess up something this badly without it being on purpose. And everything that's going on in the hearings, they'll bat it back and forth. It's never really going to get solved in any kind of way, because it is really tough to prove what's going on exactly in their heads. And you have to impeach somebody before you have to have evidence and impeach somebody before you can start probably pulling out, let's say, emails or something that they may have that actually cites, instructing Border Patrol not to do their job, stuff like that.
They have those.
They do have those?
They do have those.
I did not know that. That's great. Yeah. So my question is then, what's the problem?
They have emails that state things such as letting ICE know that entering the country illegally, which, by the way, is a felony. So anyone who says the illegal immigrants aren't criminals is wrong. 100% just on face value. That's wrong. The moment they illegally step a foot into this country, they have committed a felony.
That's why they're called illegals.
Right. But that doesn't mean they're bad people. Okay. Like, let's not get the two things confused. I think that's what people get all up in arms about. Interesting choice of words that I used, but they're like, they're not criminal. They are criminals. Doesn't mean they're bad. I've worked with many criminals that I have liked as people. They can be very nice. Just because you're a criminal doesn't mean you're a bad person, but they are in fact criminals. However, what I was going to say was there are emails and instructions from Mayorkas stating that ICE cannot deport someone for the mere fact that they are an illegal immigrant. That is not enough to deport them.
That tells you all you need to know right there.
Yeah.
But, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead, please.
No, I didn't really have anything all that meaningful to say. It's just, it tells you all you need to know. And again, the entire preamble of the Constitution sets up the whole thing. It's the main idea of the entire document. Right. Everything that falls underneath that, you're supposed to stay within those guidelines. So, ensure domestic tranquility. They're not doing that. Provide for the common defense. They're not doing that. They're not doing any of that stuff. So when they take, their oath of office to defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, because some of these people that are crossing are indeed MS-13, drug cartel.
Yep. Terrorists, Chinese nationalists that aren't any kind of fans of ours. So you have to take all that into consideration. So it always amuses me when they say we don't have any evidence. It's like, well, other than the several million illegal aliens that have crossed the border, right.
And it's they have power to do, and this is also all you need to know. They have the power to correct it tonight if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. We were much better off under the former administration. So if you put back in place those policies that we had that Biden undid to begin with, and nobody's saying close the border permanently. I've never heard anybody say that.
Right.
But you can secure things up to take stock, or even close it, just momentarily. Mm-hmm. Try to get things under wraps. It's been done before. So,
yes.
Yeah, to me, it's pretty clear. The Democrats are never going to agree that they're just going to, like I said, bat it back and forth and talk about how it's just a policy difference. And again, it's not a policy difference. He has the power to do something right now.
Right.
You have to ask yourself why.
Right. I found this on X, and this is, if you guys aren't following Border Patrol Union NBPC on X, I highly recommend it. So this was something they posted today. So this is from the Border Patrol themselves. And I always find it really interesting to hear their perspective on this, because they're the ones that are dealing with this. They're the ones that have to kind of put up with all of this. So let's listen to what they have to say.
When Trump came in, he ended what we call catch and release. And the moment he ended catch and release, we saw a drop in illegal immigration to 45-year lows. I'd never seen anything like it before, as quickly as before. And I work with the administration on these policies.
And ending catch and release amounted to holding people in detention until they could be processed and deported. Correct?
Or having them wait in Mexico pending their asylum proceeding. Drug smuggling went down because we were able to go after the cartels. So then Biden comes in and he immediately got rid of all of the effective border policies that Trump had. And from day one, we saw a huge spike in illegal immigration. Not only did we see a huge spike in illegal immigration, but we saw a huge spike in the amount of fentanyl that were on our streets. And the DEA has said that 95% of the fentanyl that we see on our streets is coming from Mexico. When Trump.
Okay, so. Wow, wrong one. So sorry.
There's a million windows up here.
There are. Hold on, let me just do this. There we go. Okay, that makes it a little easier. Let me clear some of this out. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you go through and you look at the Border Patrol's X account, you will see 100%, they are against everything that Biden is doing. And, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he released a document that has 64 things that Biden has done. Let me see if I can copy and paste this for you guys to, this has it in here too, that he has done to make the border the mess that it is. So this is the document that I'm putting in the chat for you guys. On day 1, President Biden terminated the national emergency at the southwest border proclamation, halting construction of the border wall. Very first thing that he did. First thing. President Biden issued an executive order further entrenching the unlawful Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. With his action, President Biden directed to the Secretary of Homeland Security, on consultation with the Attorney General, to preserve and fortify DACA, signaling to illegal aliens that his administration supports amnesty and that illegal aliens need not fear coming to the U.S. or worry about immigration enforcement. Don't worry about immigration enforcement. Same day, President Biden unveiled the U.S. Citizenship Act, which would provide amnesty to millions of illegal aliens around the U.S., demonstrating intent to reward illegal border crossing with a path to citizenship. Same day, President Biden revoked Trump-era executive order that was designed to ensure there was meaningful enforcement of U.S. immigration laws. Same day, the administration issued an executive action ending limitations and restrictions against immigration from certain countries associated with terrorism. Same day, the Biden administration announced a 100-day moratorium on deportations and immigration enforcement, effectively providing amnesty to criminal and other removable aliens, sending the signal that Biden administration would not enforce the law. The administration also announced interim immigration enforcement guidelines that signal to illegal aliens that they don't have to worry about the possibility of being deported. Well, isn't that lovely for them?
Mm-hmm. And what do you think that's going to encourage?
I'm going to go with criminals crossing the border,
right,
coming through, doing whatever the heck they want, which we've seen time and time again since then. Just recently in New York, there were people that had crossed illegally, came in and were kicking a cop in the head, and they got released. You thinking if American citizen, like a group of American citizens took a cop and were like beating him up and kicking him in the head, that they'd be released?
Yeah, no.
No way. Absolutely not.
And, they like to cite resource issues and things like that. It's like, well, if that's the case, then why are you asking for less and less resources every year?
Right. Which Mayorkas is doing. And
by encouraging people to flood in here by loosening any kind of restriction, the numbers are going to go up.
Yeah.
You're going to have problems keeping up with that kind of demand, let's say.
Yeah. And I think Hatch makes a good point, a slap in the face to everyone coming here through legal channels, right? So the people that are coming here legally, it takes months, years to get citizenship legally. And they have to prove a lot of things before they are allowed to come here, such as they can be financially responsible for themselves. But no, not these illegal immigrants. No, guess what New York City is now doing for them? They're giving them prepaid credit cards up to as much as potentially $1,000 every month so they can go buy food because they didn't like the meals that were being provided for them in the hotel rooms that are being paid for them.
Isn't that great?
Unbelievable.
I want a prepaid credit card.
I know, right? Or free hotel room. Mm-hmm. Yes. Hey, Nathan. Want the legal system to be reformed. Well, the legal system definitely needs to be reformed, and that's a whole other can of worms in and of itself. But the fact that these illegal immigrants are, and then I also question, can you call them illegal when they open up the border and say, come on in? I mean, they're still coming through illegally in a sense, but is it? I mean, there's that big question, and I think that's why they're doing this, because they can later maybe say, well, they're not technically illegal. We process them and let them through. They're
gonna play with that wording a lot, and they have. I mean, it's the reason why they've tried to remove the word illegal from,
right? Undocumented
right,
migrants is what they're calling them now.
They do that all the time. It's more the same, but that's the reason why I say it's playing out like it should, because ultimately we're the deciders of what's right and wrong here. They work for us, not the other way around. Constitution sets that up. So now that you have over half the nation, these other states that are getting on board with Texas, Congress can sit there and bat this back and forth all they want, but ultimately it's looking like we're not going to let them get away with this. So, well,
hopefully. I mean, that's the thing. So what's happening now, right, is that, so Texas is another, there's so many facets. They have made this purposefully so complicated that there's no one way to solve this issue at this point. And I do believe they have done that very purposefully. I think this is very planned out. I think this is very coordinated. I think this is very, it's purposefully complicated because there isn't one way to solve this. Yeah, we could impeach Mayorkas, but I don't think that's really going to do a whole heck of a lot, to be honest. I don't think it is.
No, they're not going to follow the laws that are already there to be, they'll put something else in place.
Right. Or someone else who will just do the same thing.
And ignore what's already going on. So it's more of the way I see it, it's more of a kind of a message sent or ceremonial kind of way of going about it where, again, you're not providing anything that you're supposed to be providing here.
Right.
They're not providing for the general welfare, again. So they're unconstitutional in every way you look at it. Mm-hmm. And the states have a right to defend themselves. We have a right to defend ourselves. If they're not going to police the border like the Constitution sets up for them to do, shall. Mm-hmm. It's a mandate.
Right.
Then we're allowed to take matters into our own hands then.
Right.
And if you want to talk about the document before the Declaration of Independence, which is, it's our duty. You can classify all this under treasonous, tyrannical, and I know that, and we haven't even talked about the invasion clause, right?
Right.
So
it's Article 1, Section 10.
Yeah. So, the states are well within their rights.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into that a little bit. Let's talk about Texas. So right now, obviously, there is the big question whether or not Texas is constitutional in defending their own border. I know you have very strong feelings on this. There are other people that have strong feelings the other way, saying that they don't think that the border is under federal jurisdiction, therefore that Texas is unconstitutional in their actions right now, and that they're declaring it an invasion. 51, I think somebody had said 51 counties in Texas now have declared, here it was, Snoopy said 51 counties in Texas declared invasion crisis. So are they simply doing that in order to be able to defend the borders themselves? Is that their excuse? I don't think it is, but I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, no, it's not an excuse. It's a legit concern. I mean, again, if we knew, and of course, not policing the border but if we knew that everybody coming through meant well for this country, mm-hmm. Put aside the sheer numbers, the fact that what are you going to do with all these people?
Right.
Put that aside for a sec. But we don't know that when you have CBP that are pulled off miles and miles of mm-hmm. border, where, they like to talk about points of entry, and it's like, there's all kinds of people crossing, through these points of entry where there's no CBP to take care of it. So, which is, I'm sure there's not a cartel in the world or a drug mule in the world that's going to look mm-hmm. at a point of entry and then look at miles of unfenced, unmanned, territory and
go, I'm going to go for the more complicated route.
Yeah. So it's, we've got 1.9 million gotaways, mm-hmm. Now I think
we know
of. Now I think New York's, they're trucking these people into Canada.
Are they?
That's what I read last time. So it's not even affecting just us, but I would think eventually, Canada is going to go, can you guys do something about this? Because I mean, Canada is a whole nother story, but I mean,
yeah,
it's just crazy. It's nuts. And the credit cards, the kids, where was that? Was that Massachusetts or was it New York? The kids in school?
Oh, that was New York.
New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Massachusetts, they were asking people to consider housing them.
Yeah. The I think it was the governor of Massachusetts put out a talk a while ago, gave a speech saying, if you have room in your house, please consider hosting a migrant family.
But, we know people have died through fentanyl poisoning. We know how it's getting in. And right there, to me, that's enough for an impeachable offense right there.
What is?
Not securing the border like you're supposed to, as in your constitutional duty, and letting this, we'll just call it riffraff. But no, letting cartels in, letting MS-13 in, letting, they've had these grieving parents in these hearings, and it's awful to watch.
Yeah.
You're not doing your job.
No.
They don't have a leg to stand on as far as I'm concerned. But again, they're going to bat this around and not.
Right. Well, I mean, according to the Democrats, Biden is, capturing, 5 times the amount of people on the terror watch list that Trump did.
Well, there's more people coming in. So yeah, those numbers are going to be higher. You're letting millions more people in.
Right. That's the thing that really drives me crazy in these hearings that we've been watching, which is they talk about the numbers, how so many more people are being caught, so much more fentanyl is being caught. The numbers, you're not looking at it proportionally. You're simply looking at the straight number. Yeah, Biden has caught 300 and something people on the terror watch list, and Trump caught, I can't remember what it was, 1 year there was 19 people. Literally 19 people, because people weren't coming through. They weren't coming here. And so if you look at 19 versus 300, the Democrats are arguing, well, look at what he's doing. It's amazing. And I'm thinking, no, it's not, because you've cut 300, but you have 1.9 million gotaways that you know of. You don't know how many other people have come through that could be, who knows who they are.
Well, and they don't know who they are. I mean, even the kids with the parents, they're not even sure they're the parents. They don't know what's happened to these kids. And it's the Titanic situation where he's on the ship. He's wanting to get off the ship. He grabs any kid nearest to him and says, I have a child.
Yeah.
That's how these cartels and things are going to get in. Who knows what's happening to these people, not to mention what the families go through just getting here when, really they're supposed to go to the next secure country. But if you open the borders to all this stuff, you're going to get, it's going to have, pardon the pun, I guess, for anybody who watches, but it's going to have ripple effects all over,
Yeah.
There's no way around it. If you tighten up your border, system, you're going to be able to catch more of this stuff, and you're going to de-incentivize people.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we don't want to help people, of course we do, but there's a legal process in place, and we have, 1 million legal migrants a year that we bring in. Yeah,
last year they swore on, I think, 880,000.
So that's the way to do it,
citizens.
and that's great, but they don't want to hear any of that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's actually closer to, I think Jim Jordan said most recently almost 11 million. He said it's equivalent basically to the state of Ohio, which is the 7th largest state in the U.S. So the population of Ohio is how many migrants or illegal immigrants have come through during Biden's administration already. And we still have a year to go. Right. So that's scary to think about. But so what do we do? Well, actually, let's take a step back further, even further than that. Is it Mayorkas who's responsible, or is it Biden who's responsible?
Ultimately, it's Biden.
Right.
And his impeachment hearings are, going on. I don't know where they landed on that, but
they're in the middle of doing depositions right now, so they haven't started the public hearings.
Right. So, and there's all kinds of things you can point to there, but and no, but I agree. It's not really going to do anything. Like I said, the impeachment. It's sending a message. Really, is what it is. It'll be interesting to see how all this goes and ends.
It's Biden, Snoopy's saying too. So I think maybe a controversial view, but I'm going to explain it because I don't want Biden impeached. I don't. And I know some people are going to say, well, they want to impeach him so that he can't run for president. I want him to run for president because I don't think he can beat Trump. I really don't. The poor guy does not have the mental capacity to even give like a speech properly at this point in time. He can barely walk up a flight of stairs without stumbling. He needs his wife to help him put his coat on. Yeah, let the guy stay in. Let the fucker run for president. Absolutely. Let him.
Biden is going to be the fall guy, Andrew says. And I mean, they might be setting him up for who knows. I mean, who knows what they're planning? They're so conniving.
He snips kids on TV.
Yeah.
Right. He's terrible. He has the lowest presidential approval rate in January before an election of any president in history. I just read. It's not shocking.
Yet he garnered the most votes of any president in history.
That's the other thing, Snoopy, is if he's impeached, Kamala becomes president. Think about that.
Right.
Let's keep Biden in. Let's keep little Sleepy Joe in.
Yeah, we just exactly. We just need to beat him.
Right. Let's not let Kamala in, though. I mean, maybe she's pulling the strings behind the scenes. We don't know it. That's very possible. It's certainly not him.
Well, it's the other common thing is that Obama's pulling the strings behind. This is Obama's third term. But what's funny is we had tighter border policies under Obama.
I was just going to say that he was stricter with the border.
Especially when he first. I mean, you can pull up old clips of him, and he's pretty strict. I mean, they all were.
Yeah,
I've heard clips of Clinton talking about how it's important to secure our borders.
Even Biden when he was younger.
Yeah, I mean, this is also how you know that this is purposeful. Is it's a complete 180 from what any of these people previously ran on, and you have no explanation as to why the switch.
Right.
And it's because they don't have anything. They're setting this up for more voters. They're gonna legalize all these people as quickly as they can, and just have a run on the voting system.
You think that's why they're doing this?
Yeah, I think that's one of them. One of the reasons. I mean, there's probably a multitude knowing these people, but that's one of the major ones I can think of. I mean, I've even thought about maybe they're getting kickbacks from these drug cartels. Let us come in, let us sell our drugs, and you get a piece of it. I mean, but when you've got things this messed up, this consistently, this badly, and you have the power to change it, and you don't. Again, you have to ask yourself why. It's something. They're after money, votes. Money's kind of the overarching theme of everything. But power.
Well, the cartels are making $32 million a week. You heard that right. $32 million a week in human trafficking right now. So they're making some really good money, which makes me think maybe there's some really good money coming to the Biden administration from the cartels. Is there something going on there? I don't know. I honestly am stumped as to, I could sit there and say, okay, maybe it is the votes. Maybe they're trying to get more electoral votes. Maybe they're trying to get more seats for the House. Maybe they're getting money from the cartels. Maybe all of those things. But none of that, to me, is still enough to allow this type of an invasion into the country. None of that justifies it. So I'm still kind of scratching my head trying to figure out why they're doing this. And in the meantime, while they're allowing this to happen, they are trying to take away your right to defend yourself. Because Mr. Jamie Raskin has proposed a bill that will prohibit, do you remember the wording on it? That will prohibit basically private militias from forming and practicing I can't remember the name of the bill itself. I'll find it and put it in the description if you guys want to look at it. But basically, he's trying to prohibit private militias from forming.
What's going on now, basically.
Right.
The defense of Texas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, unconstitutional, and I know there's a lot of people that will argue out there, well, states have, about every state has, you're not allowed to form private militias, that's illegal. It's like, yeah, but it's with the intent of doing harm.
Right.
Of course that's illegal. That's unconstitutional. What's not unconstitutional, in fact, it's firmly in there, is we're able to form militias and able to it's Second Amendment. It's right there,
Mm-hmm. Do you think they're going to go after more gun control while this is all happening? Do you foresee do you think that's going to be happening?
Yeah, they're always going after it.
Well, I know, but I mean more so than normal. Do you think that they're going to use this somehow? I'm wondering if that's why they're sort of letting this Texas thing play out as a way to put more laws on the books that restrict gun ownership.
Yeah, they're going to take it. Look, they never let a good tragedy go to waste, right? So they're going to take every advantage. But that's the government way to create a problem,
Mm-hmm.
fix the problem, and then fix the problem, the very problem they created. That way, where they can pass more legislation, they can garner more taxes that way. So it's they do that. I mean, they've done the same thing with inflation. I mean, everything you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. You guys know the rest. But we're allowed to defend ourselves, and we're certainly allowed to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government. And there's been so many things happening lately that you can point to. It easily falls under that category: tyrannical, treasonous. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also, going back to impeaching Mayorkas. So, the reason that the Democrats, and this is really interesting too, because if you watched the hearings a month ago, they were all about immigration is wonderful. Immigration is necessary. We need these people. We need to legalize more pathways. We need to bring more people in. This is amazing. This is fantastic. Biden is doing a stellar job. Stellar. But now if you see them in hearings, sorry, I'm trying to avoid the sunlight. Now if you see them in hearings, they're just like, there's a problem and you aren't helping us, Republicans.
So it's funny how the stories change.
Stalling us from being able to pass any legislation. First of all, Biden doesn't need any legislation to fix the problem. The DHS doesn't need more resources. Well, technically, they probably do at this point to deal with the amount of people that have come through. I mean, we've got millions and millions of people in here now in order to process them all. Yeah, we probably do need more judges, more officers, et cetera, et cetera. But Mayorkas is still asking for less and less, which is very, very weird. But I was going off on a rant and I totally lost my train of thought.
Well, again, it's classic. It could be something as crazy as like what they're doing with coming out of COVID here. You've got inflation, which gives the Fed excuse to jack around the interest rates, puts us all in difficulty. They knew damn well they shouldn't have been printing that much money with open market operations, but they create this problem, and then now, just post practically every day from the White House, that we're fixing this, and unemployment's down. Prices are down, inflation's, and it's like now you can take credit for something like that when it was government in general to begin with that shut down the world.
Right.
Not to mention just terrible policies along the way. You know, and this is an example of, you know, not only did they create this, but they purposefully struck down laws that were in place that were working.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not just a matter of a policy difference. I mean, it's right there. There's record of it, you know. They took what was working, dismantled that.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, again, like I said, to me, it's black and white, but there's all kinds of people that are sort of brainwashed by the fact that, you know, they're supposed to, they have the constitutional, not duty, because that's not how they refer to it, but the constitutional power,
right,
you know, to take care of the border. Therefore, we should never get involved. You know, the state should never get involved. You know, and that's not at all how the whole document's set up. You know, and we're supposed to get involved when they're not doing their jobs. And they're certainly not upholding the Constitution with all this.
Absolutely. Well, see, here's my problem with this Texas thing is anytime we've seen something really big happen in the U.S., 9/11, COVID, it's brought about legislation that has restricted our rights more and more, right? So with 9/11, the Patriot Act, now we're all spied on all the time. Right. COVID. I mean, we were all basically, I mean, heck, there was practically martial law. There were curfews in some places. There were, you know, like you couldn't go to work. You couldn't, it restricted our everyday lives to such an extent that we're still feeling the ramifications of it. Yeah. So now this situation is happening in Texas, which don't get me wrong, I am on the side of Texas. Protect yourselves. Yes. Do what you got to do. But what's going to happen as a result of that? What's the legislation that they're going to be bringing about? I'm thinking it's going to be used as a ploy to really restrict any type of
further right
militia type activity that could be what's the word I'm looking for? A threat to the government.
Yeah, because it's a fine line. You know, there's also provisions in the Constitution that prevent us from rising up against the government just because we don't agree with something. Yeah, that's in there too.
Right.
And so it becomes you know, you're not doing us right kind of deal, and the government's over there going, sure we are. Don't worry about it. You know, right. So, again, that's where it ultimately we're going to have to decide that, and it's happening. I'm glad to see that. So they're always messing with your gun rights. They're always trying to take different avenues to infringe upon that. Even though it says right there, shall not be infringed, of course, but they don't care. They don't care about any of this. They don't care about the Constitution. They'll talk about it all day long in the hearings. But it's a political weapon. Mm-hmm. You know, for them at this point. And, you know, that's a popular phrase going around, you know, with the weaponization of the government. Right. And it's true. It's happening. I mean, we were watching something, I think it was last night, where, they're wanting to pass universal background checks. That's always a thing, you know?
Oh, right. They were trying to pass it was called the Travelers Rights Gun Act.
Yeah. And you can't have any kind of universal. Basically, what it is they're wanting to eliminate what they call like gun show loopholes, which there is no loophole. What they're wanting to do is they're wanting to get in your way with private sales. Mm-hmm. And the only way to have a universal background check like that, and the only way to enforce it, is to have a national registry. In other words, the government then has to know every weapon you have.
But Dave, isn't that a good thing? Because then the police can find you if you commit a crime.
Right. Yeah. We register cars and all that stuff. Well, cars are a privilege, not a right. So there's all kinds of insidious legislation out there, and sometimes it's buried in as pork in other bills.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the time.
Yeah, and it'll be something completely unrelated. And if you really read the bill, you'll find out that there's something concerning firearms and infringing upon our rights. But if there's no clear indication, this is a great example of what's going on now with Texas, of why the Second Amendment's even in there to begin with.
Right.
And that's very telling.
Right.
Not only is this legislation being proposed around this time, but the fact that we have to even brandish firearms, for militias, that's how you know when things are getting real unconstitutional.
Right.
Is when you have no other choice, basically, but to go, we're going to have to go help these people. And because the feds have arms, we're going to have to bring ours too.
But Biden says there's no way we can rise up against them because they have F-16s and we don't.
Well,
we're little peons.
Yeah. First of all, good luck getting. The majority of our military is pretty conservative, and they believe in their oath they took to uphold the Constitution. Mm-hmm. If you really wanted to, they're not going to drop nukes on us. They live here too. That's number one. But this is a great example of what's going on now, where it's not like the Biden administration has gone down there, at least not yet. And tried to really start anything. There's no rounds have been fired over this. But they'd have a complete catastrophe and a complete mess on their hands if they did. And that's the only thing holding them back from doing anything we don't like, is the fact that we're armed, we can protect ourselves. And it's not so in every country. So, and you see what happens when in some of these other countries where the populace is not armed.
Right.
We've had dictators in the past, there's all kinds. Even what's going on now. Australia was completely disarmed, and they had all kinds of problems during COVID. And it was just. I'm glad to see that this is playing out like it should.
Is it though?
Well, in terms of at least us, us being again half the nation, the other states, 27 states. Realizing that this is just crazy,
right? And
we got to do something about this. We can't just Congress shall have the power. That's a directive. They're supposed to not treat this lightly. It's not that the Constitution and the founding fathers are granting. That entire document is supposed to limit, and it does limit the federal government's power.
Right.
The only reason it talks about Congress or the government having any power at all is under the scope of protecting the country, protecting the people, providing for the general welfare, ensuring domestic tranquility. It's right there in the entire preamble. The main idea of the Constitution, everything that falls under that is subject to that main idea. So if you're not following that, you're not doing your job. You're not constitutional. You're in violation of your oath.
Right. So here's what I'm thinking. This is my my psychic skills coming into play. This is what I'm predicting. So I've seen, and we've seen this sunlight killing my face now. And I'm like trying to figure out, here's the spot. Maybe I'll just lean over a little bit more. It's coming down. Yeah. We've seen the federal government coming after our First Amendment rights for the past, let's say 30 years, probably a little more than that. Right. But definitely the last 30 years. See how sweet she is to him. You guys see what she's like when I bring her out. She's like, but with Dave, she's like, oh my God. With Dave, she's just like, I love you so much. Anyway, so they've been coming after our First Amendment rights for, let's say, the past 30 years, right? And why? And the Second Amendment is there to rise up against a tyrannical government, but it's also there. Second Amendment protects the First Amendment. So I think the next step, I think we're going to see more maybe subversive bills coming forward that will be inadvertently and sort of like, a roundabout sort of way to restrict the Second Amendment. That's my prediction. I think they're coming after the Second Amendment a lot more. And now, granted, I understand what you say. They always are. But I think we're going to see it a lot more. And I think they're using Texas as their excuse. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I agree. I also think there's a kind of a theory floating around out there that this is all another trap, like January 6th.
Right. Well, yeah, because now they're going after people at January 6th who weren't even in the Capitol building.
Yeah.
They're saying they're going to arrest hundreds of people who were just there on the grounds.
Right. So
how is that even legal? It's not. It's not is the answer. It's not legal.
Yeah, it's not. Again, it's unconstitutional, but they don't care. They might as well use the Constitution for congressional shitter paper at this point. They do not care. Which is why you should be armed, by the way. But they don't care. So there's watching these hearings, it's interesting because you can see, I think the people in there who are actual politicians and the ones who are actually there to try to do something.
Right.
And it tends to be, not all the time, but it tends to be, the ones who aren't necessarily lawyers first, or,
right.
I can't remember his name, but he was a firefighter.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and then our dude with the Cajun accent.
Oh, Clay Higgins. I love him.
He was in law enforcement, and they don't mess around. They don't mince words. They get in there and just say it. Mm-hmm. And then, but there are a few of them, and some of them are rhinos too. Like I don't like Nikki Haley. I never liked Pence, and he turned out to be a turd.
Mm-hmm. Turned out to be a Pence.
Yeah, Pence. But those people are the politicians. They're the ones that are really responsible for either a lot of this stuff or not doing what they're supposed to do, not upholding their oath. But yeah, if you're arresting people, peaceful assembly.
Right.
You're arresting people that weren't even in the building.
Right.
And they're, what's her face there? I'm having a blank on names. Marjorie.
Oh, MTG.
Yeah. She's referring to them as not POWs, hostages. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what Trump refers to them as.
Yeah. And they are.
They are.
Political hostages is what they are.
Yeah. Some of them being held for years without having their hearing yet. That's completely illegal, by the way. Sorry, and I'm disappearing.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
The lighting's the worst right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those kind of things. If you're there, there's plenty of people out there that don't really pay attention to all this stuff. They hear a sound bite, or they see a clip, or they see what was on TV, and it hits them like, okay, we shouldn't be attacking the Capitol. Yeah. Right. I get it.
Right.
You shouldn't just attack the Capitol for no reason.
Right.
But if you really start digging into that stuff, that's not really the way it went down.
No.
So, and this is all going down sort of in the Trump hearings too and stuff. We've got his tweets, it was in his speech, go peacefully
and patriotically, let your voices be heard.
Yeah. So again, for me, that kind of stuff is open and shut. Yeah.
No, unfortunately it's not.
Not with these people, and so it's,
and these people can be anybody.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it's true. And that kind of gets into another like kind of I wanted to say subservient, but that's not correct. Subversive technique that the government, and specifically, I'm not going to say specifically the Democrats, but I'm going to say specifically the Democrats have been doing, which is brainwashing techniques, literal brainwashing. We call them psyops now, right? But that's what they are. It's brainwashing. I sit here and watch it happen, and it's affecting everybody. But they are making people think, like, if we just want to look right now just at J6, they are making people think that it was an actual insurrection, which it was not. An insurrection in any way, shape, or form. It was a protest that got out of hand, just like many other protests that have gotten out of hand.
What? Yeah.
And didn't even cause as much damage as, say, Black Lives Matter,
Right.
which caused billions of dollars of damage.
Yeah, I mean, and what it reminded me of actually is like, you know, being at a rock concert or something when you didn't have enough security.
Yeah.
You know, and you can point to stuff all day long, and it's a whole nother topic. But I mean, you know, Trump authorized security 2 days ahead of time. They didn't take it. 20,000
National Guard. The mayor said, no, thanks. We're all set.
But that's exactly what happens when you have understaffed and probably undertrained, because at least that's what they were acting like. They
were trained. I think they just didn't have the manpower. I mean, they weren't even like.
I'm thinking about dude that like literally dropped his pistol and left it in the shitter.
Oh, well, that's because he's a dumbass.
I know,
that guy, the one that shot Ashley Babbitt and then got promoted.
But
who murdered Ashley Babbitt? Let's
that guy should have never
like it is.
Had that job in the first place, and now he's running for something now, isn't he? Political.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking of somebody else. That was no. Is it the same guy?
I think it's the same guy, but.
No, it's a different guy. But yeah, you're right. I know the guy you're talking about, the one that dropped his gun. I think now I'm confused whether or not it's the same guy or not. But anyways,
there's so many crazy happenings around that whole thing.
It's yes. Oh yeah, there is a guy running for senator, and his ad is freaking bizarre. Have you guys seen it? It is bizarre. This is a guy claiming that he has PTSD, and he did this whole weird recreation. I'm gonna see if I can find it. You keep talking because
I don't have
it's wild. It's wild, and it's like it's not even good. It's not. Sorry, it's not even good. It's really not. I'm trying to think. Does anybody know his name? Does anybody know who we're talking about? He's running for either Senate or House of Representatives right now.
I can't remember his name at all right now, but.
Oh gosh, it's not Michael. I don't think it is Michael Byrd. I think it's somebody else, right? It's he's one of the guys that testified in a lot of the J6 hearings. He was a Capitol Police officer. I want to say Harry Dunn. Is that right?
That sounds right.
Let me see.
That sounds right.
Let me find it. Harry Dunn. Yeah. For Congress ad. Oh Lordy, let's just see if we can find this. Where is it? Because it's really
it's
weird.
A train wreck.
It is bizarramundo. Okay, why is he running for Congress? That's a good question. Why is he? All right, Harry Dunn for Congress. Oh, God. Donate to me, dumbass who can't even keep his magazine and on his person.
Yeah.
What is this? Is this it?
Yeah, his mag fell out of his pistol.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I mean, this guy. This guy.
But
why can't I find it now? That's really kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. But they've got several videos of him like accosting people.
Oh yeah.
Way overreacting to situations, and now he's running.
Great, just what we need.
Yeah, just what we need. More
crazy guy. I can't find it. Okay, if anybody can find it, let me know. Put it in the chat. But it was really, really weird. Yeah, he was the person that was he trained people to what's the term, to like de-escalate. He was in charge of de-escalating. You see him. There are people like there was someone he was escalating. Yeah, completely. Oh my God. There was someone like just trying to get a drink of water, and he goes over and he like takes the bottle of water away and storms off. And then, of course, in his book, he says that he said all kinds of things and threw the bottle of water across the rotunda. He did none of that. He just took the bottle of water away, like there. Serves you right. No water for you, insurrectionist. But yeah, he was. I mean, they even had to take him out of the rotunda, because you see at some point another person coming in and removing the guy because he was just out of bounds. Like he was crazy.
But there's no doubt in my mind that J6 was at least an opportunity seized. We'll say that, if not a setup, an opportunity seized.
Right. So what is it that they're doing with Texas? What are they going to do? I'm just waiting for that shoe to drop. Like that in my mind is a 100% something is going to happen with that. They're going to use that to their advantage in some way, shape, or form.
Well, if nothing else, politically, they can use it. They can twist the wording and call these people insurrectionists too, perhaps, or
easily
whatever they want to attach to it, even though they're well within their constitutional right to do what they're doing.
Right.
You know, Democrats are good at labeling. You know, they're good. You know, if you're a racist, if you don't, well, you're a racist if you don't want illegal aliens coming in here.
Right.
You know, so
right. So do you think that that's why they're blaming all of this on Trump? Because you know, is this all just a big political like stunt? Because in all of the hearings, every time, I mean, how many times have we heard it? I mean, I had a Trump counter, for God's sakes, in some of the hearings. They always bring up Donald Trump and talk about this is Donald Trump's fault. This is Donald Trump's doing. The Republicans don't want to pass this bill because Donald Trump doesn't want them to pass this bill. Trump. It's all you hear out of their mouths. And I'm wondering, is all of this just a political stunt to try to avoid Trump from being elected next November? Or this November.
Yeah, they're wanting to win the election hard. And they're wanting to not have to go through some of the again, it's a whole nother topic, but they're probably not wanting to have to jump through all the hoops that they had to last time. Mm-hmm. And if you can legalize everybody and get like what, you know, legit votes, put that in quotes.
Right.
But yeah, any chance they're going to get to smear the guy, to keep him off that's another thing, keeping him off the ballots. You know, I mean, that in these states, that's just crazy unto itself. But
yeah. And the Supreme Court is hearing that case on the 8th, I think it is, of February. So it's this week. They're going to be hearing the case for Colorado. So for those that don't know, I'm sure you do, because, I mean, unless you're living under a rock, you know, Colorado has now taken him off the ballot. The crazy Secretary of Maine has now taken him off the ballot. But basically stating because he's an insurrectionist, he's not eligible to be on the presidential ballot. So now I think this is going to be a really interesting thing that's coming up so SCOTUS is now going to be hearing this and making the decision whether or not states and this is why I think it's going to be interesting. It's whether or not states are able to determine if someone can or cannot be on the presidential ballot. It's not specifically about Trump, right? And I think this is where it's going to get tricky. And I think they're going to say, yes, states have the right to decide, because I believe constitutionally they do have the right to decide, which kind of makes no sense whatsoever, because it seems like it's a very chaotic type system. But that's not the Supreme Court's job. The Supreme Court's job is to interpret the law as it is written today. So I think they're going to say, yes, the states do have the right to remove him, which is going to cause all kinds of problems. But that's the question they're being asked. And they can only weigh in on the question that they're being asked. They can't come in and say, well, we think what you're doing is wrong. We don't think you should be taking him off for these particular reasons. But I think they're going to say, yeah, states have the right. Because one person actually made a really interesting counter to, you know, because there's a lot of states coming forward saying, absolutely not, do not let them take him off the ballot. There's going to be issues if you do this. And that all of that is true. But there was one, I think it was the one Democrat who was saying, this, I think, is the first time I've ever heard Republicans saying they want to limit states' rights more. And that was a very good point.
Well, the only problem with that I see is that states are not allowed to do it. States have rights. Yeah, state sovereignty is an important thing, but they're not allowed to do anything that is over the national constitution. But it doesn't. I don't think it says in the Constitution that the federal government is responsible for kind of determining who's on the presidential ballot. I don't think there is anything in there. That I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. I like Snoopy trying to, let's see, his lie, the 1 2 up from there, his lie about him being attacked was revealed in the video, as well as the Secretary Service guy who claimed, oh, is this Harry Dunn you're talking about? Yeah, he's an idiot, this guy. And all of his like crocodile tears during the, it was scary.
Like, this is the thing that drives me crazy. Sorry if I just blew everybody's eardrums out, but I've got to get this off my chest. It drives me crazy. These police officers who were crying during the J6 trials. Sack up a little bit. You're a police officer. This was an out-of-hand riot. If that's traumatizing you, perhaps you might want to look into a different profession, because I don't want a police officer who's going to get traumatized by a riot.
An out-of-hand riot that you provoked, or at least helped provoke.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, sorry guys. I know that was off topic, but it drives me crazy. And Harry Dunn was king of it.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of those people there were trying to help other people who were getting trampled, things like that, just like at a concert, you know, and the Capitol Police seemed like they grossly misinterpreted that.
Yeah.
Some people were trying not to get crushed. Like Ashley, it seems like the reason she even tried to climb through that window to begin with.
Yeah, it did look like that.
You know, again, but they never let a tragedy go to waste. They'll
right. That's my point.
This is the government way.
What are they going to do with Texas then?
There's all kinds of ways. I personally, I don't foresee it getting violent, but could be wrong. But I think there's all kinds of other ways to frame it that, you know, and people there's a lot of people out there that are, I'm just going to say it, stupid.
Or brainwashed.
Brainwashed, you know what I mean? And they're going to believe anything that side of the aisle tells them, you know.
They're brainwashed. I mean, because some of these are very, very smart people.
Yeah.
And they're just, I mean, and you know, look, I have no problem with Democrats. I really don't. I used to be a Democrat for a long time. I was a Democrat. Never, ever would have, I guess I've gone back and forth. I was a young Republican in high school. Then I became a Democrat in my 20s. And then, now, then I was like, I am neither. They're all corrupt, which is true. There's corruption throughout all of it, right?
Yeah, and I went through that stage, and I'm still there, really.
I'm coming away from it a little bit more because watching the hearings, the Republicans have been talking a lot more logically and less emotionally, whereas the Democrats are just bullshit streaming out of their mouths, like. And stupid things like fucking, what's his face? Garcia, who drives me crazy.
He's awful.
Who brought up, I wonder if I can find it anywhere, the what Trump wanted to do for the border, which I thought looked fantastic. Garcia.
This is funny. I don't know how practical it is, but it's funny.
I think it's amazing. Border. I don't even know what you call those things that they hold. That we call them cards, and the Trump. Let's just do Garcia Trump border illustration. I don't know. It's getting more and more complex each time he does it. It's kind of funny.
They talk about.
Here it is. Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, I love this right here so much. Okay.
Yeah, they talk about razor wire and stuff like that being inhumane, you know, and yet they use it, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So again, it's this looks amazing to me. Alligator moat, I'm 100% for the alligator moat. I think that's awesome and incredible. I think we need to implement that immediately. Alligators, 100%. Don't feed them, make them real hungry. You know, a couple people get eaten, they'll learn very quickly. Electrocute the fence, 100%. Absolutely. Why hasn't that been done already? Bombing of Mexico, unnecessary. That's the one thing I'll probably argue with. There's no need to bomb Mexico. Mexico isn't responsible for it. No, but some of this stuff too is, I think, they also don't get Trump's sense of humor.
I think this is amazing. Shoot the people in the legs? Sure. Why not? You're trying to come across illegally. They're like, oh, that's so inhumane. It's a leg. It's not like they're saying kill them. They're shooting for a body part. Come on. They're fine. They're fine. I think that looks like a very secure border. I love it. Just my opinion.
Well, it's true that something's got to be done, you know, and we can't have, this is a non-sustainable model that we got going on here. So
piranha. Yeah, let's throw some piranhas in there.
Sharks with lasers on their hands, you know?
Alligators, piranhas, and sharks. I think that's brilliant. I love it. I think it's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
We could have a little reality TV action going on at the same time. my family's now horrified by me. I think it's funny.
It's awesome. I mean,
it's funny. Come on, that's funny. You can't look at that and go, "Oh, that's just terrible. How could this person actually consider these things?"
Well, they're also so humorless. That's the other thing that drives me crazy about them. But then the things you want them to get upset about, they don't. They act like it's not even a problem. You can't even agree that the sky's blue with them. And.
Right. Survivor. They could do a TV show. Like if you make it across the alligator piranha shark moat and get over the electric fence, come on in. You're welcome. You're welcome. I think it's great. Absolutely. Yes, I did see, I started that. I haven't finished it. Zach, he was talking about the Tucker Carlson interview 2 days ago with the Darien Gap, the biologist that went over there. And I did see he was saying that, he went in there trying to figure out what's going on with the migration patterns because he's looking at it like a biologist, which by the way, drives me crazy when they call it migration. These are people. They're immigrants. They're immigrating. They're not migrating. It's not a herd of cattle. Again. Right. Yeah. But he said, he went in there and he was like, is it an immigration? Is it an invasion? And his response was, and this is a biologist, he's not a politician. His response was, it's actually both. There are people coming in with not great intent that have bad intent to harm the United States.
And we already have evidence of that.
Yeah. I would be fired immediately.
So again, they're not upholding the Constitution by letting these people in. They're not doing their duty. Their constitutional duty. All right.
Excellent point, Snoopy. The alligators are easier to see than the piranha. Let's make it a deep moat. Right. Really deep. Yeah. Quicksand on either side. That adds a fun element.
So yeah, I mean it's everything. We've had so many we're tired, yes. I read something somewhere where somebody was like, we're tired of living through historical events.
Well, yeah, understandable. And here's why. This is the problem. Because we are not a democracy. The founding fathers never wanted this to be a democracy. Why? Because every democracy that has ever been attempted has failed miserably.
It's another brainwashing tactic, by the way, that they try to perform. And for the
past, let's say since maybe the 80s, 70s, 80s, maybe, let's say it started with the 60s, 70s when there were all of the protests, and people wanted more of a voice. They started letting you think this was a democracy and started treating it like it was a democracy. It's not a democracy. And the reason I think that we have the issues that we have today is because they're treating this like a democracy. It's not. It's a constitutional republic, and that needs to be reinstated. Let's put that out there as much as we can. Put it out there, people. Don't refer to America as a democracy. Refer to it as a constitutional republic, because that is what we are.
And if you could do me a favor and refer to taxes no longer, they're now
government theft.
Government theft, yeah. So taxes are government theft. Mm-hmm. We need to take back to the language here.
They are not undocumented migrants. They're illegal immigrants.
Yep.
And if you guys have any suggestions, throw them in the chat.
Right.
Happy to hear them. Yeah.
Right. Don't let people use the term assault rifle or assault weapon around you.
Oh, explain that for those that don't know.
Well, it's just they're rifles. They are effing rifles. You know what I mean? So it's like anything, you can assault anybody with anything. Right. So it's not a military term. It's just, the military will tell you to grab your rifle.
Right. They don't say grab your assault rifle, men and ladies.
Yeah. It's, you can differentiate between rifles, of course, but anybody who knows anything about guns at all, knows that an AR-15 is just, it's a civilian version of an M16. It's semi-auto. It's not full auto. It's a glorified 22. It's just got a lot more powder behind it.
Okay, so for people that don't know, because I was one of those people until Dave and I got married and we're talking about this, you hear assault rifle and you hear AR-15 and you assume, if you don't know any better, you assume AR stands for assault rifle.
Yeah, it's convenient, but
right. I think it's
But no, it's Armalite. It's the company that came up with that design.
Armalite, that's the name of the company.
Armalite.
Armalite.
Yeah.
Like Marmalite.
Yeah. So, but they're. I'm trying to think of other ways in which they play with wording. It's all over the place. Of course, mine's going blank right now. But but yeah, the democracy thing. You had a good point the other day where it's like if you keep drilling democracy into people's head. I think that's one of the things, as you said, that makes people think it's okay to take away other people's rights, because the whole premise of a democracy is mob rules.
Right.
We don't want mob rules, because if 51% of the people don't think you should be able to own your car anymore, guess what? You don't own your car anymore.
Right.
Even after you've got it paid off. but
you're still paying taxes on it.
Yeah, you're still, exactly. So that's another, don't get me started on that whole thing. We don't actually own anything, but we're just leasing it from the government, which is the worst. But yeah, so what was I saying? Okay. So 51%,
democracy.
Yeah, 51% of the people don't think you should own your car. You don't own your car anymore. And it's one of the things that I think sort of brainwashes people into thinking that all this is okay.
Right.
It's like, well, the majority of the people want this. The majority of the people want universal background checks. First of all, no, they don't.
Right.
Secondly, that doesn't matter.
Right.
We are a constitutional republic with our individual rights protected. And there's an amendment in there. That's another thing. Amendments. It's a little bit of a tricky word. Unfortunately, it's
a legal term.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is, but they really should be called something like augments, because
which is what an amendment is.
Yeah, but people get the idea, and I think they've framed it. No pun intended. Framers, but I think they framed it in such a way that it's okay to go back and alter the Constitution. And we get a lot of people thinking that.
Well, it is, and it isn't. But that's what an amendment is. It is either a change or an addition to a document.
An augment. Yeah,
it can be a change as well. It can be a change.
Well,
legally, an amendment can be a change.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. If you're running around thinking that every time you encounter something you don't like, you can just go back and change it. It was never meant that way. The Anti-Federalists were super concerned that just in case you were dumb enough to read that entire preamble and not get the message that we the people are in charge, they work for us, they decided to...
False, but go ahead.
Hang on. No, I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
I know. Go ahead with your argument.
But... just in case you could read all that and think that the government can just come back and do whatever they want, which is to infringe upon our rights, which is the entire reason for the document. Anyway, they went ahead and inserted, like I said, augments into it, to further punctuate the fact that freedom of speech should not be infringed. Right to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. Just in case you missed it.
Right. Well, that spells it out. That should not be infringed right there. I mean, shall not be infringed. Like you talked about before, the word shall is a directive. It is not it might be infringed in some occasions. No, it shall not means never. It will never be infringed.
Yeah. Directive.
Yes.
Shall not
be infringed. That also is a legal term. That means exactly that. You shall not change this. You won't change it. It is not to be changed. It is not to be amended. But again, people don't necessarily know that. They read shall not and they think, well, it's just the way that they worded it back then. No, legal documents use the word shall nowadays too. When something is definitive, it shall not be changed. You shall do this. That means you will do it. Not you can if you want.
Yeah.
But what? Yes.
You shall protect the border.
You shall protect the border from invasion. Great example. But yeah, what I was going to say is we the people, to me, that is one of my pet peeves, is that people think we the people are the governing body. We are not the governing body. We the people, when the founding fathers created the Constitution, they did not in any way, shape, or form think of it as the everyday person is going to be making political decisions. absolutely 100% did not think that. They didn't think the average person had the intellect or the ability to see the bigger picture, probably more the ability to see the bigger picture. I'm not sitting here saying that they thought the average person was stupid, but they thought the average person was too concerned about, okay, well, I got to have food for the week. I got to have, I've got to take care of make sure my utilities don't get turned off. I've got to go to work. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to take care of my kids. I've got to do all of the day-to-day things that we have to do, is going to influence the way that we see politics. And it does. It absolutely 100% does.
They ain't wrong.
So that's why they instituted Congress. They wanted, say, a ruling class that would be focused on the bigger picture, so they wouldn't get bogged down in the day-to-day little minutia. They would have a more macroscopic view of the situation and understand politics and legislature in terms of that big picture.
They are elected representatives.
Right. And they are there to
uphold the Constitution, which protects our individual rights.
Right. That is true. Absolutely. 100%. And those rights are inalienable, right? They cannot be taken away from you. But they were there to represent the wants and desires of their people, but to do it in a way that saw the bigger picture. And so we the people is not we the people.
Well, the only thing I'll say to that is what was also within their definition of we the people were they wanted people to have that were going to be making the decisions for the country. They wanted them to have stake in the country. They wanted them to be landowners. They wanted them to have a certain social class, and that was kind of a product of the times back then. So, being that a lot of people are landowners, a lot of people have stake in the what they get away from, or what they're trying to get away from with that document, is any Joe Schmo coming in and making decisions that doesn't have a stake in the country.
Right.
That not only maybe not only doesn't care, but doesn't have anything to lose.
So you're saying that's why they wanted the representatives, was to avoid that? Is that what you said?
I'm not sure. I'm not. I don't know. But the point is, you're not allowed to. Nobody's allowed to do anything unconstitutional, right, and have it be considered legal. It's built into the language, right?
Right.
So again, you're talking about. We have a cat over there trying to get out of a room, but you're talking about Congress again with the wording "shall." It's a directive. You will do this. We're not granting you this power just to play around with, or to not uphold the Constitution. That is your duty, to uphold the Constitution. So when they're ignoring all this, when they're letting millions of people flood in from the southern border, a lot of them, not all of them, of course, but there are a lot of them that we know of even that they don't mean well for the country. We've had people die because of it. There's and that certainly interrupts constitutional rights. If you're dead, you don't have you can't pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cut and dry if you know what you're actually reading and what you're talking about.
But the problem is that it isn't taught well in school, right? So most people don't know what they're looking at. They see it on its face, right? Its face, they take it at face value, and it is through no fault of their own, don't necessarily understand the context for all of it.
Yes.
And so that is why people like me with a big mouth are here to say, okay, wait, let's stop and take a look. Let's take a step back and see, what did the founding fathers actually think about this? What was their intent when they did this? Because we've been so brainwashed.
I'm gonna let him out.
Okay, yes, please do. Yeah. Okay. Hold on just a second. So my point being is that they definitely didn't teach us this in high school, except high level. They didn't. I took those classes and they still didn't teach all of this. They really, really didn't. Well, what did I do?
I didn't mind either.
What did I do? I got a damn it, Lynn. I don't know what I did. So yeah, this is the biggest problem that I see going on, and I think this is part of. Hold on. Okay, cat has been released. Hooray! It was a lot of that we could hear. I don't know if you guys could hear it too, but this is what is going on right now. It is, like I said, very complicated, but one of the biggest issues, I think, is because you've been lied to and you've been told this is a democracy, and it's not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic. And that is part of the problem. And so I still circle back to, I know why they're doing the things they're doing and telling us things and wording them in the way that they're wording them, but I still don't understand quite yet what the intent is behind allowing millions of people into this country illegally. Millions.
We'll see. Well, if they can make something horrible happen, they will, you know.
Well, yeah, given. That's a given, right? So,
speaking of horror,
Lulu is coming into the picture. Okay, so tomorrow, guys, we have. Oh, sorry. No more noise. Sound better to no more. Okay.
Were you able to hear that?
Maybe you guys could hear that in the background. Yeah, there's Lou. That's the multi-billion-dollar question. That's absolutely correct.
Yeah,
it is a
truly.
multi-billion-dollar.
We are paying so much for this.
Yes, we, the people.
But they know better how to spend our money for us.
Yes,
right?
so Zach is saying, I understand the intent by China and South America. I don't understand the intent by our own American government. Right, that's the question. That's the question, to overthrow our way of life. But why? What's the purpose of that? That's what I'm getting at. I don't understand the why they're doing it. Maybe it's to overthrow our way of life, but for what purpose? To what end? To what end are they trying to do it?
Well, and it gives you an idea. Watch out.
Yeah. Oh.
It gives you an idea of how crazy this is when we're sitting around trying to figure out, like, there's some kind of cartoon supervillain or comic book supervillain. Like, what would their intent be? You know, and when that should not be happening. When your own government is doing things so crazy that you're like, what in God's name could they possibly be doing? And what could they mean by this? And, you know,
well, it boggles the mind to understand, like, to try to figure out why in the world would they be letting almost 11 million people through? 11 million people.
Yeah.
Plus 1.9 million known gotaways, and who knows how many unknown gotaways. So why?
So Sumpy says, I think Obama is pulling the strings to destroy all he can, since his name will not be associated in history with this disaster.
But why? But for what? To what end? Yeah. What's the purpose? That's, again, still why? That's the big question.
Yeah, and that may be true. I mean, like, you can't put anything past any of these people, but at the same time, again, it's like we still had tighter immigration laws under him. So I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. The only thing I can come up with is votes. I mean, and I even saw a tweet by Elon Musk, you know, where he was thinking along those same lines. Not that any of us are like political scholars or anything, but, you know, I've been studying this stuff for a long time. That's what my degree's in, is in economics. I work with government for my job, a small part of it. And you know, with as long as I've been, like, sort of, you know, researching this stuff, you know, you could argue that it's like a lot of us, you know, have PhDs several times over in this, with as long as we've been researching this stuff and submerged in it and dealing with it. And, you know, you anytime, you know, tax time's coming up, we're coming into that now, you know, and anytime you even get into that, you get it. And this is all stuff they don't teach in schools, by the way, really, is, you know, now it's like, okay, well, I just, you know, I can write off the interest of my mortgage. I know that. And the tax code is so vast, and they wanted that crazy on purpose. they're constantly changing it and introducing new legislation. I think we got one more year where they're not going to come after the $600 threshold for third-party apps. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Sorry. I was thinking of something else.
Like the pay apps and all that. And every time it's an education is what I'm trying to get at. Every time you have to deal with something like that, the fact that the inflation that they've caused now gives your county auditor an excuse to come by and arbitrarily value your property higher than it was and raise your taxes based on that. It's just insidious. I mean, the whole system is corrupt, and again, like kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, they don't really teach that stuff in schools, at least not high school.
I'm sorry, this made me laugh.
Probably just likes Mexican men, or Michael just wants to make him happy. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my
yeah, we're not the only ones, I think, that think along those lines. Anyway, but it's just life teaches just some good stuff is my point, and there's no better education than having your ass handed to you on the daily.
Right.
And then trying to figure out a way to make it work, make ends meet, and
yeah, I mean, and this, like, Snoopy raises a good point. So some of the illegals question on who they would vote for said they would vote for Trump, so the border would be closed and secure. Which interesting that they would say that, a little ironic, but that is true. A lot of people are like a lot of different demographics who are traditionally more Democratic are leaning more towards Trump. So again, I still don't think this is for votes because it's having the opposite effect. I mean, maybe they have the naive idea that all of these people being let in will vote for Biden because they don't want to be deported. I don't know that that's the case. And at this point, there are so many of them, it would be really difficult to get rid of all of them. It really, really would.
It seems like it's having the opposite effect, which is cool. I hope it really pans out that way. I mean, even the one thing I'm not seeing very much of is a whole lot of defense of Biden, which is kind of nice.
Right.
Normally you get all they can really do is attack Trump. And when I say they, I'm not talking about just the people in these congressional hearings. I'm talking about just average everyday folk. I mean, there's most of them are pretty silent during this whole border thing. I think they don't even know what to make of it. Even if you voted for Biden initially, I would think you'd have to go, what the?
Yeah, I think everybody's scratching their heads right now trying to figure out why Zach's saying not for votes. They just hate us. They want us gone in the world that's left over for themselves. I mean, but they're letting out a lot more of us, if they want to get rid of us. Like, they're letting in a lot more people to, I mean.
One thing that strikes me is that God, like they're constantly talking about population and, the United States needs immigrants and things like that. And it's like, well, first of all, yeah, legal ones. Okay. So number one, but number two, it's like, it's just interesting to me that they create all these kinds of conditions economically and otherwise politically and all that, to where a lot of people these days are looking at each other, especially the younger group, looking at each other going, I don't even know if I want to have kids. Mm-hmm. And I've been hearing that for a while now, for a few decades, really, where it's like, do you really want to bring a kid into this world or whatever, however you want to put it. And so they create that kind of environment and then talk about population issues and then usher in. It's all what I'm trying to get at as I'm speaking. I think Zach's point a little bit, where it's almost like they're trying to replace us,
well, there's the great replacement theory. Yeah.
Us being, we were the native born, we were, born here. And, so, cause it's like economically, it doesn't do us any good to have illegals come in, work here, and then send money back to their family at home, things of that nature. That's not a good thing. Mm-hmm. And the Democrats are really pushing that, or at least they don't seem to be want to address the illegal part of it, you know.
Oh, well, they'll come up with all kinds of reasons. They'll say that it's great for the economy. It's necessary for the population growth.
That's
yada, yada, yada.
You know.
Okay, Snoopy, I gotta say this. I love you. But no, don't listen to every conspiracy theory you read or see. I saw this today on X, and I went and I looked at the document that they were talking about, and that is false, at least for the US. I didn't read the Europe part. If you go and you look at the page that talks about the United States, there are 5 different scenarios that they looked at talking about the aging population and whether or not, you know, we kept immigration at the same level that it's now, we stopped immigration altogether. There are 5 different scenarios that they played out. And basically they said that if we kept immigration, you know, steady at what it is now, which is about a million new citizens a year, we will be completely fine.
And we will
completely fine. They never said you need to flood the U.S. with immigrants in order to, you know, help the population. They didn't say that.
Yeah.
So all my conspiracy friends, and Snoopy, I'm not saying this to you, I'm saying this to the people that are posting it. All the conspiracy people, do your homework, please, before you start putting stuff out there that actually isn't true. And because this already is confusing enough. But anyways, yeah, it's not true. So don't listen to it. It's not true. That's not what it is. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen.
Well, you know, we're just dealing with so much right now, and not only is this costing us a ton, but we were watching again another hearing the other night where the Congressional Budget Office, they were off by $1 trillion in their estimates for the budget, and even especially the Republicans are like, what is going on? So they were questioning the little guy, the head of the department there. Yeah. And this guy was great because you think of the epitome of a mathlete or, you know, nerd number cruncher. And this guy was it.
Yeah.
But you know, you have to factor so much into that, like the amount of interest we're paying on the national debt, $34 trillion dollars. I think it wasn't Jim Jordan, was it? They was talking about we are spending more money.
No, because Jim Jordan's not in that committee.
Okay, well, but we were spending money faster than the speed of light.
Yeah,
because 186,000 miles per second, right? Speed of light, if I got that right.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, we're spending 200,000 something, whatever. Don't quote me.
I think it was roughly about $200,000 a second.
Now. Yeah. Which tends to add up, but you know,
what I found interesting and surprising to me was most of that's interest on what we owe.
Yeah. Yeah, because it compounds, you know. So and if nobody's ever gone and looked up the national debt counter, it's, I mean, staggering. Is not even. It doesn't even cover. It's not a term that even covers. Just pull it up and watch it sometime.
It's crazy.
It's like watching, you know, an atomic clock or something, just going. But yeah, we're just sitting here breathing. We're spending money because we're racking up interest on everything. And we don't need to be paying for illegals. You know, we don't, there's all kinds of wasteful things happening to where we got to get a handle on this stuff.
Yeah. Snoopy says 1 trillion. I'm off just a few cents for my night deposit. It's like, I hear about it like it's the end of the world.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. You know, and the department, and they haven't convened to look at that in about 6 years, is what they said.
Yeah.
And that's about the same amount of time that the Department of Defense hasn't been able to pass an audit.
Right.
You know, and that's always where I come from. It's like when the government can balance a budget, when the DOD can pass an audit, you know, that's when I'll stop complaining.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's most people don't have a problem contributing something. It's like, but this stealing and thieving and wastefulness and sending money where it doesn't need to be going, and bribery and the extortion. I mean, money laundering. I mean, you can't tell me that what's going on with Ukraine isn't about that. I mean, just and you can't. It'll never go anywhere. I mean, because they keep. Well, again, you watch these hearings and they're talking about, well, you don't have any proof for that. Well, except the bank statements. And that's it's not good enough. Not good enough for them.
Right.
Don't even want to look into it. Nope.
Bradley saying, like, Lynn with my credit card at Louis Vuitton, hand it over, brother. I can spend like a politician. Just watch. No problem. Absolutely. Bring it.
Well.
So, all right. So tomorrow we have I'm not sure. Okay. So sometimes when they schedule these House hearings or motions or what have you, they don't always specifically say exactly what they are. But tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, and I'm going to stream it, there is an emergency motion for the impeachment of Alejandro Mayorkas. I don't know if this is the full House vote, is what I'm trying to get at. It might be, but it doesn't specifically say full House vote. So, and they've been doing so many hearings, but it does say emergency motion or emergency meeting. Yeah, about it. So should be an interesting one. So I'm going to stream that tomorrow at 4. Now, again, whether or not he gets impeached at this point, I mean, other than making a point of maybe saying, if you don't do a good job, you're going to get fired. That's not a bad point to make, right? Is it actually going to fix the border, however? Probably not. Probably not, because it's never going to go through the Senate anyways. The Democrats have a slim majority there, and they will never, ever let it pass. And there are actually a few Republicans in the House that are against it at this point, or so they say. But they also said that about the impeachment inquiry for Biden, and then they voted for it anyway. So we'll see. We shall see what happens.
Yeah, and if you're coming at it from the standpoint that it's not going to change anything, they're right.
Yeah.
What I don't agree with is the how they keep screaming about we need legislation. It's like, no, you don't actually.
Mm-mm. You don't need legislation and you don't need resources.
Yeah, you can fix it tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to do that tomorrow at 4. I will be here with you guys. And I think I'm going to start doing the shows a little bit later in the day, probably around the 4 o'clock time frame, because it seems like more people can watch those. So I'm going to try and do that as much as I can. So thank you, Andrew. My goodness.
Thank you, Andrew.
That is so kind of you. I'm so glad you enjoyed the Lynn and Dave show for today.
Thanks for listening to my bullshit.
So if you guys enjoyed this, we'll do more of these. Let's play Pass the Blame. Absolutely. Thank you. Oh, Andrew, hold on. I got to do my thank you for you. Hold on. I made these. Let's see. Which one should I give Andrew? How about let's give you the smiley face. And I did this so if we were watching a hearing, I could say thank you without being too interruptive. Listen.
Thank you. Thank you.
It sounds like fuck you. It's thank you. I don't know why it started out midway. Like, thank you. It's thank you, not a fuck you.
Thank you.
There we go. But thank you, Andrew. That is very, very sweet. So if you guys like this, we will definitely. Oh, hold on. Let me get the thank you off here. Okay. There we go. It was a thank you. Really, I promise it was thank you. Maybe that's the response I need to give every time somebody gives me a super chat. I'll be like, fuck you. Fuck you.
That'd be pretty funny, actually. People probably eat that shit up.
You probably would. But all right. So yeah, like I said, if you guys like this, and let us know in the chat, let us know down in the comments if you want to see more of the Lynn and Dave show. It's not the official title, it's still a working title. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you guys like hearing us, I mean, we can talk all day long about politics, bring up guns and taxes, and Dave Hurley will go all day long about it.
Oh, I kind of did today, but
but
yeah. Anyway, like I said, thanks for listening to my bullshit, but.
No, we enjoy it. And there'll be oftentimes that you'll see us disagree. So there you go. Fun for you guys. But we disagree.
Rarely, actually, but No,
well, yes and no. But I mean,
we're disagreeing now.
Right. But what I say is civilly. We civilly disagree. It's not like we get into arguments about it. But anyway. So yeah, thanks guys Yeah, I know, right? He gets cussed out for being nice. I know. Poor Andrew. We love you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
It is
Very
very,
nice.
much appreciated. Thank you so much. Good to have you with us, Dave. Poner Houston said, it is nice to have Dave with us
Well, thanks,
again,
Poner.
isn't it?
I'm usually not. I'm more comfortable behind the camera, but
We're working on him. We're working on him because he's fun to have here. So, all right, guys. Well, I will be here with you tomorrow at 4 p.m. And then I'm kind of looking over the schedule for the week to see which hearings we're going to watch this week. And I might actually implement another new show, which is a Friday kind of like end of the week roundup. What are the highlights from the week from the shows that or the hearings that we've watched? Show, same thing. But we'll see. Let me know what you think about that idea too. But there is a hearing on Wednesday. Hold on, let me pull it up so I can tell you the exact title because I think this sounds fascinating. Okay, it's a full committee hearing too. And it is, I guess it's the full House. Doesn't say like that it's a committee on House administration. So yeah, I think that's the full House pretty much. American confidence in elections, confronting Zuckerberg's private funding of election administration. That is Wednesday. We will definitely be watching that one.
That'll be an interesting one.
Yes. I think that's going to be a good one. But tomorrow we're going to be watching the impeachment hearing or meeting emergency motion.
Intergalactic Angler. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, he's great. We love having him on here. Good to have you with us, Dave.
Thank you. Like I said, I don't know. She's way more interesting to listen to than I am, and better looking for sure. So,
well, that's actually true. No, totally kidding. It's not. Oh, so glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Hatch. I'm so glad you guys were able to make it here with us. And I hope that I will see all of you back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. With that, I think we'll say good night. All right. Bye, guys.
Scattering leaves, the days go, dragging us along like rag dolls. Make these moments move faster. It's our latest disaster. There's no place I'd rather be anyway. This will do for a while. Gather your thoughts so we can run away from it all and ease our minds. We'll try to make it all matter, pave the way for the shattering of youth. Promise our real lives not far behind. Leave nothing to chance and we will not find. Still, I'd like to be here for a while. Try to make it all matter, pave the way for the shattering of youth. Promise our real lives not far behind. Leave nothing to chance and we will not find. Still, I'd like to be here for a while. Still, I'd like to be here for a while. Scattering leaves, the days go, dragging us along.